we've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community.
Hey guys, good day, good morning. Welcome everybody for the Google DevFest. Just want to make sure that you guys can see my screen. Perfect. Okay, so for today's session, we are celebrating our annual DevFest event, which is kind of run by the Google Developers Group. And this is a community event that GDG Cloud Toronto has taken as an initiative. What is DevFest? DevFest is an annual developer-hosted event. So the participants from the community, the volunteers who are passionate developers, we all come together to celebrate a festival which we focus on technology, and we'll be more focusing on not just technology, but also women in technology. We'll also be doing some hands-on workshop today. So we'll quickly look at the agenda for today. So we'll kick off the agenda as we are doing right now, followed by a keynote session by one of our eminent key speaker today. And we'll have a panel discussion followed by a break. And we'll also have women in technology focused discussion as well. And we'll have some short breaks in between. And then we'll have a kind of an intense hands-on lab that you guys would enjoy, and you'll also get certified. So that's pretty much a short agenda for the day. And before we jump into the keynote session, I just want to give you guys a quick introduction about what is GDG and what do we guys do. So we are official chapter of Google. We are not working for Google. Well, we are kind of volunteers who come together and share some passion with Google to serve the community. So we are an independent group of volunteers, and our motto is to kind of nurture the passion for technology, and we also support women in technology. So the GDG Cloud Toronto group, we started way back in 2017 with just like a handful of members, and we grew today with around close to 3,000 members, and we have a consistent growth of people in the community. And the COVID pandemic has definitely kind of hit us as well, just like we're no exception to that. So there is the growth rate has slowed a little bit, but we are still striving to continue to kind of deliver the same amount of sessions and in the same level of intents that we were doing in the past. So this year it's all kind of more virtual event, but we are hoping 2022 would kind of help us get together in person, we'll all be able to meet together as well. So what kind of events that we organize by GDG Cloud Toronto? In GDG Cloud Toronto, we kind of organize information sessions where we go into universities and colleges. We talk about cloud technology. We kind of slowly help them get the basics of cloud technology through our onboard sessions. We also do specific in-depth study jams where we focus on specific technology like machine learning, artificial intelligence, or we focus on BigQuery. We also kind of focus on system administration, which is kind of not going into a specific technology as such, but managing the cloud resources. So we kind of focus those kind of hands-on for people in our community, and we do it for free. We also do DevFest, which is once in a year kind of an event where we kind of try to do a combination of sessions where it involves women technology, kind of a focused discussion. We kind of try to do some hands-on labs. We bring in some eminent speakers like we have today. We also do Google Code Labs where it's more for programming people who are somebody who would like to do programming on cloud. So those are the kind of events that we do. Our audience demographics, who can attend us? Pretty much everybody in the community can join us and get benefited. And we kind of don't restrict anybody or a specific group of people, right? It's open to everybody. So we have seen students who have come to our events. We have seen startup companies attending our events. We have seen a lot of technology professionals. We also seen non-technology professionals as well. Not to forget our great supporting partners, our George Brown College, who kind of who are very well helping us provide sessions in the classrooms, without whom the growth that we have today is not possible. Start GBC is another supporting partner who is also a kind of an entity collaborated with George Brown College. These are two big entities who support us with the venue and all whatever support we need. We kind of get it from them. And last but not the least, Google, right? Like Google gives us the codes, the participation codes, and they support us through swags and in any format that they could to deliver what we're trying to do today, right? So those are our great partners that we have. We also kind of emphasize on the anti-harassment policy and even code of conduct. The basic bottom line is respect everybody, right? There might be challenges doing virtual events. There might be a lot of issues, as you guys know today. Delivering a virtual event is not easy. We might have unexpected connectivity issues. We might have some kind of disturbances while we are delivering. So please pardon us if there is anything that is falling short on our end. But at the same time, a request to you guys, you will have opportunity to talk to our speakers and panels and ask questions. Please be respectful, because the growth that we have seen today is by being respectful both ways. We respect our participants, and we have earned that respect from our participants as well. So we are looking forward to a similar event. With that, I want to just make sure that you guys don't search for us in different places, right? This is one snapshot where you guys can find us. We are pretty much available on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, even on, you can just quickly take a picture of this and scan us through the barcode as well. So the QR code could help you guys find our meetup group. So if you Google GDG Cloud Toronto meetup, you will quickly find our meetup group where you will find a lot of members and the kind of events that we have done in the past. So with that, I want to make sure that you have enough time to enjoy the speaker sessions that we have lined up. We have hands-on workshop as well, as I mentioned, and there are going to be exciting prizes, and there are going to be quiz at the end of the hands-on labs where you will be lucky enough to get some exciting prizes. And believe me, the prizes are great. So make sure that you get benefited throughout the session. With no further ado, I want to pass it to the next keynote speaker session. Prachi, over to you. And once again, thank you for joining us, guys. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good evening, good afternoon, in whatever location you are. So let's welcome Nirvi. She is a lead manager and technical lead manager in Aries Technologies, and she's working in SAP Technologies. So let's welcome Nirvi on the floor. So, hi Nirvi, welcome to the show today.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible, Sweta?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, should I go ahead?
Sure.
Okay, so let me know if my screen is visible. Is it visible now? Hello,
No, Nirvi, we cannot see your screen.
now?
Um, yeah.
Okay, so, first of all, thank you for giving me this platform where I mean, all the people who are interested in technology or technology related discussions or want to know what exactly is going on right now in the industry, and also what are the reality for those technologies or those terms which we talk about mostly in all kind of technology related discussions. Uh, I will be going through four main areas in this session. First one is cloud adoption because that's the whole this session is mainly oriented for. And then since I come from SAP background, I will also give you some insights to SAP and then the correlation between cloud adoption in SAP. So just to give you the complete picture of my own experience related to this topic. Okay, so to start with, introduction. I'm having 10 plus years of experience in SAP area. So quite a different worked along with different organizations and different clients, different in different domains, especially. So we'll be talking much more in SAP related stuff later in this session. Uh, PMP certified. I have just mentioned this part because I have been made aware like majority of the audience is students and they are on the maybe the verge of starting their career. So there are lots of myths and there are lots of assumptions also about certifications, whether it's required, not required. So any type those questions are also welcome during the questionnaire. But yeah, those are not the main content of this session from my side, but definitely I will welcome those kind of questions later on. Just mention love to read, write, and build a good life because that's a message that I want to start with everyone. Uh, Focusing on career is always, I mean, it's very very important. Building a good career is necessity, but at the same time, we should never forget to build a good life as well. So just a disclaimer because we are in a technology related session where we are presenting what exactly, based on our experience or based on our observation, or whenever we dealt with some clients or we are dealing with some customers, what kind of thinking or what kind of a mindset that we can see in the customers related to cloud or be it any kind of technology upgrade or new latest innovations that comes in technology world. So it's purely my observation and also totally based on the experiences, so it's not quoted statements here. Okay, so to start with, what is cloud adoption? So, and simply, if we say whatever we are storing on whatever the data that we are storing for our business or basically for any kind of purpose, be it any kind of data, rather than storing in our local systems on a local computer or a local servers which are mounted on system, we move to internet space, we move to cloud where we have lot of scalability. So even if we have an increase in business, there is a growth in business, so one of creating more storage for a new all together a new system, that's pretty much a cumbersome process. But increasing the storage area or utilizing more space on the cloud definitely is the simplest. Compare It's a lots of simple compared to increasing the on-premise memory storage. So in order to make this transition of the cloud, we need to have critical things that we should always keep in mind, or basically whoever is, whether it's the business uh, people who are taking the decision to move their data to cloud, or be it us who are involved in this particular entire process. uh, so basically we need to first of all assess it. So any kind of and then this is basically true for any kind of technology implementation, or uh, whenever we do any kind of project, even in smallest of project, whatever we do, we first assess it, right? What's the requirement of it, what exactly we need to do, and and then we need to do, we gather information about it, what all things we need to have, what are the prerequisites to do that. And then we need to plan it. Planning also comes from prioritization perspective, like what exactly is priority, what are the pros and cons of doing in such a way. Because doing any, even this transition, if we talk about cloud adoption, that has its own pros and cons, and depending on business to business it will differs. So before we take any kind of final decision, we should weigh the pros and cons with, and then we need to take a cautious call, which we know, okay, if we are going with this process or this step, these are the cons that may encounter, and we should have a mitigation plans ready in hand, so that we are not struggling when it actually occurs in real life. So that's where the planning comes in picture, and that's very very much important. We should have estimations ready. We should have with whom, what's the team who is working on, what kind of expertise is required, what's the best level of expertise is required for doing such work. And at the same time we should not forget the cost and the effort that any kind of transition needed. Then it comes to the adoption. Once the decision is taken, and we have the go ahead to move it to a cloud, we first, already in planning phase, we need to list down all the processes that we have, what's the existing system is, what the existing system architecture looks like, what kind of data we are planning to move, is it all the data that we are planning to move, or is it like some restricted part of data that needs to be moved. Have we considered all the risk assessment or not, any security related concerns of the business or the customers has been taken care of or not. So these all questions should have been answered by in the planning phase, and the same needs to be executed in the exact manner how it's planned during the adoption phase. So it's also, from the technicality, we should have the correct softwares, we should have the required servers, the required data stores for everything smooth. All right, so for the complete process to be a smooth process, we should ensure like even the hardwares has been taken care of beforehand before we actually enter into the adoption phase. We should have the right team as well, so that we don't get into understanding related issues. So whoever was involved, and it's always better to involve all, the entire team from the start of this transition till the end of the transition, so that everyone is on the same page and there is no miscommunication in between. And we also have optimization. So once we have done, that does not end the chapter, because we all are part of a technology industry where nothing is constant. So there is always a room of space, room for improvement, room for upgrading the existing solution. Or maybe because I mean, there is a saying like, if you are using any kind of technology related equipment, or be it any appliances, that gets better by the use. Like if I have, maybe I have just manufactured one appliance and just given to the market, maybe at that point of time it will just have the basic features that was there in my mind, but once it's wide and open in the market, I will keep on upgrading it based on the users feedback and suggestion. So optimization is always required, because maybe what works for others does not works for you, or maybe you need something else for making your business more stronger. So every technology, every product becomes better by better every day based on what kind of issues you are facing when you are actually live in the market, or when actually the end users are using it, be it any kind of service or be it any kind of product itself. And we as a technology consultants, we are everywhere, from the planning till helping the business to execute this optimization, or basically understand their vision, what kind of improvement they want to bring. And we need to tell them, okay, for this particular vision, what are the things that we can help you out, or what are the strategy that you can follow to make this happen. So cloud adoption definitely comes along with lots of benefits. It's gives you a room of lots of, it's also famous by that saying, like, okay, it reduces cost and risk, but definitely there are lots of parameters that needs to be taken care before even we suggest someone adopting this cloud. And once those loopholes, or basically those facts, are clear, it definitely it's the best way ahead, and then we can just utilize the benefits that it brings along with it. It has l- um, it gives the user the flexibility to use it from any kind of device, be it any software from any place from the world. So definitely there are lots of capabilities to extend the applications. So whatever you have right now, you can improve it. There could be numerous versions or improvements that you can add on based on your own personal preferences, and bring the best out of it. So it's just a platform, and how much you are utilizing it, what's the best way you are taking. When we say when we invest even in anything, be it for example, even if we invest in a small startup, or if we in a small business, how much we are taking it out, it depends on us, right? So even if we are going for cloud adoption, it's a wide platform. How much beneficial we could make it for anyone, that's totally depends how we utilize it and how well we are prepared for it. Okay, uh, moving on. As I talked about, definitely moving on cloud adoption as gives you lots of benefits. Lots of cost cutting can be made whenever we are talking about a growing business. But at the same time, definitely there, whenever you discuss cloud adoption with anyone in the technology domain, the first concern that comes is the security, because every business have their own sensitive data. And to ensure, and just for the benefit, and they started saying, okay, what's the point of moving to or utilizing a flexibility when you are risking your data privacy. So this is the most common, which I feel is the aspect of a cloud adoption, which is making this complete process a bit slower than expected, though it has lots of benefits, though it has lots of flexibility that it brings to. It has lots of room where we can grow our business to great extent. But at the same time, the very important factor, security, the gaining that trust from the people of the business who are taking the decisions, that needs to be definitely clarified. So what as the promoters, what we can do is we can list down the concerns, what kind of data they are more worried about, what are the sensitive data that, and what's the best way to secure those data in these premises. Yeah. And then we also prevent, like, what, like, if there is any kind of program bugs, or there is any kind of any a percent of possibility for a hijacking. I mean, just I'm giving real examples. If there is a possibility that someone unauthorized can access it, or then we need to bring those solutions in place so that we totally eliminate this risk. And even if it happens, can we track it, right? And also with cloud adoption, it's very much important to have training programs within the organization itself. So be it any kind of size business where we have, because most of the organization, most of the business run on data, and their data is their assets. So it's not just something which they are filling in the books. It's just they are earning out of those data. So this is very much important. Even the employees of every organization should be made aware about the risk and what kind of websites, what kind of links they are accessing on the internet, and what could lead to loss of data, or there should be strict guidelines, or there should be strict restrictions on the uses of any random websites, or any random responding from even restricting the employees from responding to any unknown mails. Because I mean, that's totally a different topic of having security breaches in place. So those things will be taken up later, but I guess this is one of the main concerns in today's life, where people have around cloud adoption. So I just wanted to have some, dedicated time on this one, because if they, even if there are concerns, there are solutions to it, and we need to give them those proper solution, get them convinced, and then we need to then we can definitely see the trend goes higher of cloud adoption. Okay. So as I said, I come from SAP background. So I know lots of people here might not be much aware about SAP. So I just wanted to give you some insight about how SAP, and why I'm just referring to SAP in cloud adoption. So cloud adoption is not only right now in rest of the technology, it's also combined. Every software is getting upgraded, or basically getting collided with this cloud adoption approach. So, SAP, just to give a brief about it, what it is and what it do, how it works. So it's a system application and product in data processing. So basically deals with any enterprise business which has, maybe a domain in maybe a retail industry, or maybe a manufacturing industry. So all the businesses out there can utilize this software for their run to run businesses, and then also to track each and every step, or remove we can totally remove the manual activity that any business can do just to track all the orders, or basically all the transactions that they are doing. So it was founded in 1972 as a and there's just a story to tell. There were five IBM consultants actually who were working on this idea, and later they were asked to, drop the idea and work on something else, and they left IBM and founded this company. So that's just an interesting note to know about it. Okay, so this particular slide is basically deals with the journey of SAP. So right now, the latest platform that we talk about. So these four boxes that you can see on my screen are different packages over the and how it has evolved over the time. So the first one was quite basic enterprise solution. It was having all the necessities, functionalities, to run a business. But from the technical side, it was running on SQL Server or any database. Moving on, then there was an improvement, and then SAP introduced a HANA database. So basically, it's an in-memory relational database system. Whoever has worked on SQL database also can relate to it. It's a column-oriented. That's the only difference, which makes all the functionalities much better, faster, and also adds lots of functionalities to it. Then SAP decided to uh, improve its finance module, because that was the market. As per the market practice, even the smallest of business that was running were mainly using SAP for their, finance purposes, for having their all the financial transactions in place, getting recorded in SAP. So that was the main area which was utilizing by the smallest of business. So they introduced a specific improvement module called as SAP Finance module, uh, and Simple Finance, which was using on SAP HANA. Later, right now, the latest one is SAP S4 HANA, which has lots of cloud related functionalities, which I will talk after this slide. And this is also running on SAP HANA. So now it's not only the finance module, but also rest of the areas has been redesigned and in accordance with the latest technology, be it cloud platform, be it any additional uh, added functionalities, AI that's right now, or okay, so we'll come to that part later. What exactly is SVPN? So I just wanted to give this brief journey that has moved on from normal SAP ERP code to the latest that we have right now. Okay, so SAP Cloud Platform. This is again to just give you a brief, and it's relates to what exactly we talked about. The benefits we already have talked about was the benefit of cloud platform or cloud adoption. So even in SAP as a software industry, it introduced the cloud concept in 2012 itself. It was redesigned. It was later reintroduced as 2000 in 2013, and now it has revamped into something called as SAP Business Technology Platform. So the only message from here what I can give you is it was introduced quite a kind of a decade back, but still as of today it's not applicable. Like all the customers are not convinced or not using this particular functionality. So the reason it and but the good part is there is definitely a increase in the uses. SAP has even in their yearly report they have shown that there is quite an increase, in the number of users and the number of partners which are now going for cloud adoption. They're using the cloud functionalities. But if we talk about others, why they are not moving or why they are not interested in moving, so we need to ensure, like to promote that, we need to hear their concerns out in what exactly in reality is stopping them from leveraging these all benefits. So coming to the latest talk in the town, that's called SAP Business Technology Platform. This is basically gives you a kind of a hybrid environment where you can utilize cloud related functionalities as well as the core existing SAP functionalities. So it's basically gives you hundreds of pre-built functionalities which is already there, and that's much faster, that's much that's new, that's ease out lots of business process that were not possible earlier in the standard module that we had. And also it helps to integrate with any non SAP environment. So we were able to do integrate previously as well, but it's much easier now. Be it any kind of system, it totally gives you a lot of more flexibility to connect to any non SAP environment as well. So benefits of cloud adoption, so this is entirely in terms of SAP as well and valid for any other software also, I guess. So database and data management, so we can run data anywhere. I can maybe approve or I can even access any application on my mobile or just over my mail, and I can do the needed action to it. So that brings lots of flexibility for the end users. If you can see, there are lots of approval process, there are lots of maybe transaction that needs to be taken care, and you can't have all the time your computer logged in, and it's ease out lots of complicated process. Reduce data redundancy, connect and understand data, and this is what where we talk about the AI comes in between, where we can train our system, where we can use the history of data to understand what's the trend happening right now in business, in our business. For me, what's the best next action would be. So cloud adoption also brings you the benefit that it can help you in visualize your decisions, what kind of decision you should take in order to make your business grow. So those kind of benefits as well, or those kind of I would say applications, we can already build in SAP with the help of cloud adoption. uh, Another word that we readily use is forecasting. So basically, based on the history or based on the market trends, we can predict, or maybe we can forecast what kind of situation it will be, maybe an year after, or maybe after 6 months. So definitely these are the benefits which are now newly added due to cloud adoption. Now it gives lots more flexibility. It has new concepts which every business can make use of and run their business at a more smoother pace. We also have lots of application development and integration where we can uh, maybe earlier we used to, if we talk about from the timing perspective, if it was taking maybe 20 days to build an app, or maybe just a simple app, it might take even hours now, because it's so much easy. There are already predefined template which you can use. You can just fill in some data and then your app is ready. Definitely, and every application is customizable. You can add your own parameters to it. You can add your own important maybe a part to it, or a version which is totally aligned with your business. But only point is the efforts is much less compared to what we had earlier. Now we what we talk about challenges. So even there was an article some time back where SAP CEO said, like, okay, definitely there's a growth with lots of customers or business partners are inclined towards this their new concept cloud adoption, but definitely it's not as expected how they maybe thought when they're planning this cloud adoption. And definitely we can see with the growth that I mm, showcased earlier, like it was introduced in 2012 with the basic thought of leveraging cloud, and right now we are at the end of 2021, and still SAP is making every day, they are making a newer version so that they can get customer convinced, they can remove the loopholes, they can remove the flaws, and mm, bring more customers on cloud. So first point, but we need to work a lot more to make the majority of the customers to be on cloud. So first is definitely a mindset. uh, if you talk to any kind of business, or maybe any people who is running, maybe just for an example, and maybe a automobile industry or maybe a retail industry, so they have their set day to day routine. They have their set every for their month, like during the month end what exactly they need to do, during the whole day what kind of activities they need to do for, or what kind of decision needs to be taken at what point of time. Now when you introduce a new kind of way of working, that's pretty much, it takes time first of all to understand the benefits of it, and no one wants to come out of their comfort zone. So that's one thing, that's the biggest problem. uh, Secondly, even if we have lots of benefits that explained and they agree to it, then they also think about from the cost perspective, because they are just thinking from a short span of time. But if they think about a long span of time, definitely the cost should not be but they have a readily budget available to invest in this transition. So that's also another point that mostly the small or the mid-sized businesses think about before going for cloud adoption, or before basically going for any kind of technology upgrade. Then also in such kind of projects, or basically such kind of transition also needs a dedicated efforts. So it's not only the efforts of a technical team, or it's not only the effort of a consulting team who is going to spend the entire time on this upgrade or this transition. It's also from the business side. There should be people who should be uh, involved in all the phases, because the consultant team or the technical team needs their inputs hand in hand at every phases of the project. So again, that's also one of the point. which they are not ready for, taking time from their day to day business and giving a dedicated hours, because if they don't provide the proper inputs, this transition will not help them as much, and then we they would be lot more to fix the issues later on. So these are the main three reasons based on which we need to work, and we want to try to convince them. And once they are ready, we need to again go back to that loop of assess, plan, adopt, and optimize. So these were the slides from my side, or basically these were the my points that I wanted to share with you all. Being an industry professional, what I have seen, what I have faced with regards to cloud adoption. Thank you. Is there any questions? Now we.
Yes. So Nirvi, one of our listener, he's asked.
Mhm.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So one of our listener, he's asking, can you share any experiences around ways of building services around legacy app that help in the cloud adoption journey?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just give you a real time example. So we have uh, when we think about customers, so now in SAP we call it as partners. So every business has their partners. So partners could be vendors, who is finally providing the uh, end product to the direct to the users or maybe to the consumers. Partners could also be customer who are actually from whom, or maybe supplier from whom we are taking the raw materials as a business people. So there are different kinds of people that comes under the tag of partners. So we build an application where they can easily go, earlier what used to happen in SAP ERP, which I talked about, the first package that we talked about. There we had there was a certain particular way. They were kind of, every user used to, I mean basically every business user used to go through a long list manual to even create a single partner, be it any kind. Also they need to always ensure that they follow a different manual set if they are going to create a customer, or they are going to create a vendor, or they are going to create a maybe a supplier. So there's a very slight difference. As an outsider, if you see, okay, these all are the people with whom we are dealing with, but we are dealing it in different ways. From one, we are taking the materials, to the other, we are sending the final product to them. So because of that, SAP has different ways to create it, and they had to access different transactions. Basically we can just relate it to web pages. So different pages to create them. Now with the use of cloud adoption, we created one single spot where they can simply go, have all the values entered, and you can just tell them, we for what purpose you are dealing with this person, and then they can create all the backend tables accordingly. So they can update the backend tables accordingly, or they can even, the form page will get, once you select that particular data, okay, it's I'm going to create a vendor, I'm going to create a customer, the entire web page will get refreshed as per that requirement. And if it will even suggest you based on your maybe previous uh, customer that you created, or previous partner that you have created, auto kind of auto suggestion. So yeah, so it was quite a easy. They don't have to follow any manual. The system itself will give you what information you need to do, or basically what the next step that you need to take care. Does that answer?
So hope Kaushik, you will get your answer. So Nirvi, we have one more question. So
Sure.
that is, had pandemic led remote working any impact on the cloud adoption?
uh Answer is yes. The reason is not related to any technology. I would rather say it's more from the costs. basically cost perspective, because every, I mean, during this pandemic, every business has got its own impact, right? So definitely their budget on their own IT or IT sector has got reduced in real, I mean, real life. So no one is willing to spend a big amount of time or be it cost in any kind of transition or any kind of upgrade. So that's the main reason why there has been a slower movement in cloud adoption. But I guess it's not about more over the technology, it's more about from planning and budget perspective,
Okay.
because those who have already invested in those those plans or projects, those has been running smooth. So there has no been like, okay, maybe any running project has been cancelled. No, it's not like that.
Okay. So this question is from me, Nirvi, a very
Hmm.
generic question. So if anyone wants to, start their career in SAP, so what is the best way and the easy way, because here as this we are hit like we are badly in the pandemic era, so
Right.
so we are not meeting in person, everything is online, and people are not very much interested going in person to learn anything. So in this kind of situation, if anyone is trying to start their career in SAP, so what is the best way and easy way to get into it?
So uh, it's a quite a, it's, I mean, it will be very justified to say that there are people who are starting their career right now has lots of way out there which is free of cost, and you don't have to really invest into learning a new technology. So their SAP itself has provided, it's a learning hub portal. You can go there directly, you can explore it, you can even go for a trial version. There's a developer trial version if you're interested in coding. If you're not interested in coding, even if you just want to learn SAP, there are lots of articles, there are lots of courses which are free out there. um, and I mean, that's provided by SAP. But apart from it, if we don't even talk about it, there are lots of stuff available on internet where you can first go have a glimpse what exactly SAP is about, what's the new things that's coming in SAP. Are you interested in being part of that, those concepts, or you want to learn more, and accordingly you can take a call.
Okay. So, is there any role if we do, certifications related to SAP? I mean,
If yeah, so if you're a fresher, you don't have an experience, you can definitely go for a learning module, and at the end you can give a certification, because that just evaluates saying, okay, you have the basic understanding and the basic uh, you know uh, concept building of SAP, or basically any particular module in SAP if we talk about, and you can approach based on that for any kind of job. But if you are experienced, then also it certificate, I mean, if you're experienced and you just want to switch to SAP, then you need to obviously you need to showcase that why you want to switch to SAP. If you are really really interested, you must have put some efforts into it. So I guess certification is just a way to pass on that message that I'm interested in this particular concept and I want to work on this area. So definitely I would not say that uh, it will bring a difference or not, that's a different thing, but definitely it will pass on a message to the recruiter saying you are really interested in taking up this role.
okay. Thank you, Nirvi. So, we have one more questions.
Sure.
So, how can we stay aware and prepare for future technology considering there are many options out there?
Yeah, so first of all, you need to understand like there is a lot of technology and that will keep on changing every day. So the list is going is not constant. So you need to, if you are starting your career today, or basically if you have started to thinking to build your career in IT today, think about what's exactly what are the core or basically what are the main possible technology that will be in boom in next 5 years, because that's the time that you took to become at least a expert of any kind of technology. So till initial 2 3 years will go in understanding the business process and also aligning yourself how this IT industry works if you're totally newbie to IT I'm talking about. So and also uh, choose a technology that serves the business that you'd be like to a part of. So I would say like when I started my career in SAP, I had literally no knowledge about okay how it's going to help me out, or basically how whether even I'm going to continue this for a decade or not. But uh, trust me, because I enjoy the process of maybe a logistic business, or I enjoy being part of a manufacturing business. So and that's the reason I now even enjoy being a SAP consultant for 10 years now. So don't just think about technology, because there will always be a newer version of it, and you can always go and learn technologies. Be a rather, I would say, be a part of the business that you want to be a part of and bring a difference into.
Okay. So, Nirvi, so we just have one more question. Which transferable skill are the most suitable for SAP? For example, any programming languages or anything
Okay,
else?
so it's called, yeah, so it's called SAP ABAP. And that's the main programming language that we use in SAP. But right now, if you just want to be part of SAP, it's not really required to only know ABAP, because now we are moving to cloud adoption. We're talking so much about it. We have AI related concepts. So now even Java professionals, even who are interested, there are OData related concept, people can go out there and explore more on it, and so which are totally based on Java. So those are can even be part of SAP technical team if they want to.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. I think you got your answer. And so, Nirvi, so as we
Yep.
don't see any more questions, do you have anything for our students who is freshly graduating this year or next year to some motivation joining SAP or any other technology, like how they decide, like for example, if they got two offers for two different technologies or two different domains, so how they
Hmm.
are going to decide, what will be the deciding factor, like
Uh,
what key points they keep in mind when they are choosing a career.
I guess the key point would be are they going to be in the technical domain itself, like they do want does they want to do coding all their life, then that's a different approach to take in the career path. If they want to move in real life scenario where they are going to take some important calls, then that's definitely a different career path. Or maybe even they start with understanding one particular technology, that should not stop them in learning the rest of the process or rest of the business. So I'm stressing again on this part. Why? Because this is how I believe. If in technology, if you give me a new technology, or if maybe if it's required in time, I need to change my technology, I can learn it. I can go for a learning program, I can learn it maybe not in days, but I can learn it in months, and I can go for a job. But if I'm have the basic foundation ready with the concepts and the logical approach to solve a problem, then I mean that learning will be quite easy, and I can switch my roles how I want to. So if you're at the start of your career, try to explore more about your interest. I guess that's the I, I mean, the one thing that I can say, understand what your inclination is towards. Do you really like coding? Then you have to go for a real. You should learn Java. Because you should learn maybe SQL syntaxes, because those are the core foundation of each and everything. Even if I'm coding an ABAP, at the end I'm creating queries. At the end, that's I mean, the logical approach that's matter. How what's the syntax I'm following, after a while you can learn it anytime.
Okay, thank you, Nirvi. And as this question I asked for the students, so if a person is in their like mid career, they spend like 6 7 5 years in industry in different technologies
Hmm.
and different domains. If they want to switch to SAP. So
Mm-hmm.
how they are going to make it? Is there
Yeah,
any
so
way?
definitely there is a way. I mean, you can definitely switch and come to SAP and work, but in what role you want to move, that's another question that you need to find an answer with, because SAP is a wide, I mean, it's just not one technology we are talking about. We are talking about different modules within SAP. So you need to also think about which particular module you are interested in. Is it finance area which you are interested in? Is it logistic area which you are interested in? Because even if you're a developer, you need to work along with these processes, so you need to be very much sure, like if you're not understanding um, these modules, then you lose the interest in coding. So even if you're a developer, even if you are going to work as just a business analyst, you need to develop an understanding, or basically you should know in which area of a particular organization you are interested in. So are you interested in human resources? Are you interested in because every area have a different way, every area have a different way how their developers should be, acquainted with technical knowledge. So I guess that's the first step to do, in what area you want to work, how you want to work. Do you want to work as a business analyst? Do you want, because you are already experienced enough, so that's why this question comes up, that do you want to work as a business analyst, or do you want to go into the technical area? And then you analyze, okay, maybe you should go for this particular training. We have lots of trainings which are SAP itself provides. I mean, there are lots of free courses also, but there are also paid courses for professionals who can go out there, complete the process, which are instructor led, and even they can help you in identifying, like, okay, maybe based on your experience, or you can reach out to someone who is experienced enough in the area where your interest lies, and they can help you out. But I will first say, understand your interest. There are a lot of modules. They're different, as in this slide also I have shown. There are finance, there are human resources, there are marketing and management, there are procurement, purchasing. So I'm talking about in these terms because these are the real life
Yeah.
scenarios where you have to go and code it. So yeah, being a business analyst and developer, that's totally your call, but understanding businesses is definitely required in both sides.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Nirvi, for all these insights for the SAP modules. So, is there any last word you wanna say to our listeners, our viewers today?
Yeah, I'll just say thank you for giving me such a platform where I can interact with this, I mean, young generation. I can say that, I guess. And I would just say, if I can sustain in this industry for a decade now, with the just minimum basic qualification of a graduation, you can also do, and you can actually do much, much better than me, because you have lot more resources available out there free of cost. So go utilize it, utilize these kind of sessions that Google is organizing. Reach out to different people with whom you can interact and learn about different perspective, and then take a call.
Okay, thank you so much, Nirvi. So guys, we were listening Nirvi for the SAP things, and thank you so much, Nirvi, for all the insights and all the question answer and all the um, yeah, you were saying something.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can reach out to Nirvi on LinkedIn, or reach out to us related to like anything GDG, and if it is related to anything SAP, I guess Nirvi here will be the best person to approach with. So
Yep.
by saying this, thank you so much, Nirvi, for your time here today, and hope to
Thank
see you
you.
soon in our next events.
Sure. Thank
Thank
you. Same
you.
here. Thank you.
This organization and this event provide me the opportunity to experience using Google Cloud.
I want to connect with a lot of people. I'm a people person. We have people coming from doctors' background, medical professionals, lawyers.
The ability to actually participate in a live session is much more powerful than a virtual classroom.
But here you've got a lot of volunteers, you've got great instructors, and it really helps because when you do
All right. Hello, everyone. So I hope you are having a nice evening, nice morning in the East region, and then we have folks joining from throughout the globe. So have a nice good afternoon and good evening as well. I guess I'm audible. Can someone just confirm that I'm audible, right? So that I can.
Yes, you are.
Yes, thanks, Sitesh. So thank you, Sitesh and Melka. Thanks for joining this segment of our DevFest 21. That is, we will be talking more on cybersecurity, and I guess this is a real concern to many of the audience that we may have, to all the professionals. It impacts everybody. Well, before I proceed, let me have a quick say about our guest today. So we have Sitesh, who is a director with an IT firm, who is a vivid speaker, who has appeared in multiple events. He's working with Data Rings right now as an IT service delivery director, and he's our honored guest today. And we have Melka, who is also honored guest, and he's a lead senior business analyst in TD Bank, and he has been involved with our team for a while in various ways, and holds good insight around what's happening in technology and how it's proceeding. So thank you so much for being our esteemed guest today. I hope that the dialogue that we'll have today will benefit many of the audience right now, and even we will have certain broadening of our own understanding while we discuss the topic. Okay.
Thank you, Melkar. It was nice, Vimal. And Melkar, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
It's Melchior. That's fine though. No problem.
Okay, Melchior. Good, nice,
yes.
Nice to meet you. Okay.
Nice to meet you too.
So so before I begin, let me also ask our guests to tell a little bit about themselves while I introduced their professional profile, but something they would like to tell about themselves to our audience so that they can connect with you better. So Sitesh, I'll go with you.
Thank you, Vimal, and it's nice to be back with GDG Cloud Toronto almost after 1 year, and I'm really thankful to your team and yourself. Myself, Sitesh Srivastav, and almost around a quarter century, going to be quarter century of IT experience in IT education, business development, marketing, software development, from the mainframe times to the mobile applications development of the rudimentary applications and the hardware around in 2000s, and then went on to work with global corporations in UK, in India, in Japan for a very long time, and very, very fortunately in South Africa for more than a decade, more than around 6 years to be precise by now. So great experiences all around. And yes, I think that we are all standing at a very interesting inflection point in our digital journey. And I would like to hear from everyone.
Thanks, Sitesh, and it's always an honor to invite you as our guest. And you have always helped our audience with your wide experience that you have in industry, and the thought that is definitely 10 years in the future. So thank you for being here with us. Melka, I believe our audience would like to know more about yourself and how do you place yourself in industry and in the structure where you fit in. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I've been in the IT and business world now since the early 90s. I've been working in the finance, basically the banking industry, pretty well all the banks. And I was working full time for a majority of my career. And then in the last 10 years, I've been an IT consultant slash business consultant. So I've been working on both sides, mainly focusing on anything risk related, whether it was encryption, decryption, to IT audit, to project management, to mainframe host security modules, right down to interact and pin encryption on your digital credit cards and debit cards. I've been doing that for about, it's going to be coming close to 30 years. And it's like I said, the overall risk is the theme of everything I've done, whether it's the business side or the IT side. They have a commingling. You can't do one without the other.
That's a lot, Melka, and yeah, I didn't knew your industry for like 30 years. It didn't look like that. So welcome to our event, and thanks for being here. I had an interesting thing happening, like while we were planning to talk about the cybersecurity and all, just a couple of days, an interesting thing happened, and I guess it keeps on happening with everybody else as well. So I got a message on my mobile device saying that I have been overcharged on my mobile bill, and I will be refunded some amount. So I said, okay, fine, let me refund it. Any refund is good. And they said, you will hear back within an hour about the process, something like that. That was the message. So I didn't do anything about it, like any of us would ignore it. And then after just an hour, exactly an hour, there was an IP, there was an that popped up on the message. So as somebody who wants to be aware of what's happening around, I could have just ignored it. But since we were going to talk about this topic, I took one step forward and thought of, let me check this, what it's all about. So I opened my another device, which usually I do not use. I went in incognito mode. I opened that IP, what's inside that. And before I did that, I checked that on whois.com, that where the IP is coming from. So it was registered with Alibaba cloud computing servers. Of course, it doesn't have a designated name because the group IP structure. And then when I checked it on an incognito mode, it landed me on a page which gave me an option, which bank account you will get this money to be refunded. So, okay, and I can see the listing, pretty much it was Canadian banks. So that means the sender kind of knows the targeted audience is from Canada. Perfect. So I went ahead and I chose one bank on which I don't have an account. And after that, it asked me to log into it. I did log into with my credit card number, which was more like the IP address itself, repeated twice. And then I added password, do not try to hack me, something like that. And then I filled all the form. Then it took me to the security question page. And I can share that IP for our audience so that they can also have a look on themselves, right? So how does it work? But do not go ahead and directly click it on that. So that's what I'm trying to convey here. So we will do this live probably while the session or after the session. So it led me to the security question where it asked me to select the security question and the respective answer. I filled all of them, which was completely false, which was absolutely incorrect. I filled all of them. And then it directed me when I submitted to the page, which was the actual page, like the actual bank's page for me to log in. That is where it ended. So pretty much what I perceive from this is, so there are folks who are trying to approach many of us, and I might not be the only one who is receiving it. And this is a legit incident because I have that IP still active with me, which I checked in the morning today. So they are trying to send me something where a refund is being offered. I will be lured to get into that. Then it's trying to seek my ID, like credit card details. And it's also trying to take my security quotient, possible security quotient. if I just post whatever information as whatever is related to me, kind of I'm exposing myself and my personal information to the wider audience or unintended audience. So this thing is real. The topic that we have today, the reason for me talking about this, my personal incident, is that this thing is real. And of recent,
Yes.
probably you must have heard the buzzword log4j, kind of the issue that is happening all around. So there's a lot of things that is happening which is near to us. So the idea is cybersecurity that we are going to discuss today is impacting us individually. It's not something that industries are alone to be worried about. It's not something that governments are alone to be worried about. As an individual, me, you, Sitesh, and you, Malika, we all have to worry about this. So, having said that, while I will be sharing those IP for our audience interest, I'd like to know from you, Sitesh, how do you see the current concern about cybersecurity world? Do you see it is more real than it appears? Do you see it is overhyped, or how do you see this?
Well, Vimal, many years back, I learned from the one of the key leadership books on military. You are as weak as the weakest point in your team, and you are as strong as the strongest point in your team. And that applies pretty much sure effectively for our computer systems, our internet, and the way it has grown over the last decade at least. And the immersion, our immersion, human immersion into the application space, and the advent of the mobile phones in our life. I mean, they have become our bedroom partners. What else? And everywhere. So the threat is real, the cyber security is real, the software vulnerability is real, and the biggest dichotomy that I find is that we as humans don't want multiple layers of security. We want one shot, single sign on, everything work hand in hand. And sometimes I must tell you, when I see my bank application on my mobile phone next to the TikTok video application, I am really scared. And therefore, we have to, live with this. And as they say, privacy is farce now. We are as private as the systems want us to be, the applications want us to be. And therefore, it is only, I think, the regulations, the self-regulations, the companies like regulations, the international and national regulations, and stricter regulations need to be there so that even the bottom of the pyramid users can understand what a security means. They could feel free using those systems, and the cyber administrators should be, I would say, they should be policing it with a pinch of salt. What do you say, Melchior?
I think you're right. Unfortunately, it's the lack of knowledge and the lack of education. For example, what Vimal was talking about happened to him is called phishing. It's very, very basic and simple. They're phishing for information. When you click on one of those links, one of two things can happen. They'll take someplace, they might mimic a banking site or an Alibaba site or anything else, and they'll pretend to be somebody else. They're gathering your information, and whatever information you do put in that's actually accurate, they're capturing, and then they're going to mimic you. So in this particular case, if Vimal had to actually type in his actual information, thinking that this was the true person or the true institution, they would have that person in the background, the hacker or scammer, would have actually gathered that information, gone to his bank account, and emptied it. If it was a credit card, they would have taken that credit card, and he'd found transactions all over, Canada, United States, and anywhere. Just whatever they can scam from that card, they would. And on top of that, they'll sell that information. That goes to the black web, or the dark web. Sorry. So you have to be very careful. My recommendation is, number one, do not click those links. Delete them immediately. If you suspect it's actually your bank, contact the bank on the back of your card. If it's a different company, contact that company. Google the company. Make sure and contact their customer support. Don't volunteer information to anybody on the internet because they've asked. The banks, the government, all major corporations will not solicit you for that information. Instead, they'll tell you to call them, and they won't necessarily give you their number. They'll tell you to call them on the number on the back of your published card, or to go into a branch, or to go into their offices. They won't ask you for this information. These scammers will use all sorts of ways to deter you from going into the office. And for example, most recently I saw Canadian Tire Bank has recently been sending out, hey, if somebody's asking you to buy gift cards and pay for things, gift cards, delete it. Do not respond to them. Do not give them PIN codes. That's happening a lot because many people are just not listening that these are scammers, and that the corporations don't contact you in that way. That's the first thing that could happen. The second thing that could happen is you click on that website thinking it's a legitimate website from that link that you clicked, and before you know it, you've downloaded a virus or something that's actually going to record all your keystrokes and transmit it without you knowing. It'll be anything from turning on your camera and watching you to recording everything you do when you log into your banking applications. So I implore you, do not click on these links. Delete them immediately. If you suspect it's legit, call your institution, call your companies, call your service providers, whatever, and ask them if they contacted you or if there's an issue with your account. 90% of the time, there's nothing to do with them. It's just a scammer trying to get your identity. And remember, once they get your identity, there's a lot more they can do than empty your bank account. There's people who have had their home assets changed from them to somebody else. And then trying to get that back is very difficult because, again, everything's digital now. So it's not like you can go and knock on that scammer's door and catch them, because they may be here, they may be around the world. So, don't do that. But
Absolutely.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah. And while there are talks around this cybersecurity and our own online security, we do stress on strong passwords. And of recent in India, one list was released about most common password that people are using. And it was amazing to say most of people can correlate, at least they can correlate that at the rate 123, at the rate 321, the most common password happens to be the password word itself. So there is certainly one idea that this password has to be strong. While we do not have them, it has to be changed frequently. We do not do it. One more area which I would like to highlight, and I'd like to know your inputs on that, is the security questions. Because a security question like, what is your pet name, might not be as secure. That gives an way out to our bank accounts or different personal accounts, right? So how do we manage that? Because again, you get a list of security questions and you have to answer from that. And anybody who is close to us might be knowing those security question answers by themselves. So Sitesh, how do you see that? Even if we put a very strong password out there, how do we manage the security questions in that?
Well, Vimal, security questions is again something that is a remnant of the first level of IT systems when they came out, probably a few decades back, 3-4 decades back. and those were the pretty much plain vanilla kind of question answer sessions which have remained, and as I said, they are the remnant, and therefore I think they should be scrapped. Instead, we should have those captcha, which suddenly seems like very, very rudimentary. And nowadays there are some images which says that a frog, which way it goes up and which way it goes down. Those are the ones. And there are, over the phone OTP numbers. So the challenge with the CIOs, the challenge with the cyber security administrators is that which one works for whom is something which they cannot decipher conclusively. And therefore, they have to give 2 or 3 or 4 different kind of authentication methods because of the different kind of users and the scenarios that they are going to use it. Some, not every, and nowadays more and more we are mobile, and therefore things are supposed to be doing on a tablet or a mobile phone rather than sitting on a desktop. And therefore those authentication questions, I think they need to be either redesigned or they need to be scrapped completely with some other mechanism. What do you say, Melker?
Melker, your thoughts on this? While we are struggling with password, strong password, how about the security questions?
So first of all, you should be changing your passwords regularly. You shouldn't use the same password across all your things. I personally have over 280 different passwords that I maintain through an algorithm in my head. So do not use the same password for everything. If you have different bank accounts, use different passwords. They should follow the standard password, minimum 8 characters, numbers, as well as capitals and lowercase, as well as symbols. Make a phrase that you can remember and include all of that in it. It's not that difficult, because once you get used to doing it, you'll continue to do it. And then once in a while, change the password. If at any time you feel threatened that somebody has indicated they may know your password, immediately go ahead and get it changed. Multi-factor authentication is out. A lot of websites, a lot of companies have all gone to that. The government, the banks, as well as using that with your mobile apps. If you're not turning it on, do so, because this is your second and third layer of authentication that gives you some consistent way of always changing. For example, when they send you a code, when you log in and it says, we're sending you a code, type in this code. Now they at least know that this is you. It's something that's consistently changing every time you log in. It won't be the same code the next time. So you can validate that it's you. That multi-factor authentication is very important right now, because people are finding information on the dark web. Your information has been collected. People are posting things on Facebook. The worst thing you can do is post personal information on Facebook. The second worst thing you can do is say, I'm going away on vacation, and posting that on Facebook, because any thief now knows that you're physically away. Most thieves are actually going to try to get stuff from you digitally, but now you've just given them the digital key to walking physically into your home and knowing you're not going to be there. So don't post those things when you go on vacation, when you leave. We definitely need to keep doing that. And additionally, one new layer that's coming consistently more and more and more is biometrics. Everything from voice print to the thumbprint, right? And as this technology becomes more and more readily available and standardized on your phones, that's going to be more and more used. And then the simple things: make sure your phone is locked. Make sure you've got a password that you change once in a while in your phone. Because if your phone is your gateway to 80% of your life and your identity, that you should be changing for sure. Because if somebody else is going to be able to crack into your phone, whether you're using your thumb or whatever, and something as simple as just making sure that extra layer is turned on, do it. Otherwise, it's like leaving your home and leaving your front door open. right? We've got the technology to help you to make that happen. The question is, are you using it or are you ignoring it? If you're ignoring it, assuming that everybody is, it's not going to happen to you, you know what? You're existingly the target that they're looking for. It's the ones who they know have already turned on all their authentications, aren't providing that information. They're not going after them. They're going after the ones who are, I'm going to say, being lazy. So don't be, turn on those authentications and make sure your phone is locked at all times so that you have to unlock it before you use it. And if the bank says, or that, can we use authorized to use your voice print because it's unique? It's another layer of authentication. Use it. You're given the tools. Use that tool to protect you and your family and your lives. Because once somebody else steals most of that, it's going to be very hard to get it back. That's the one thing we do know. Identity theft, once it's taken from you, recovering is a very long and difficult process. If you can, in fact, recover.
Absolutely. And I can see there are quite a few comments and questions coming up. Before that, one small tip, and I believe everybody or most of us will be knowing that you get your OTPs when we are talking about multiple factor authentication. One of them is getting an OTP on your mobile devices. Now, when your mobile device is locked, still your OTP appears on your screen. So there is a method to lock that, and possibly you may like to do so because you really don't want somebody to have a mobile device which is locked and you feel that nobody can access it, can still see those OTPs. So that is one thing you can do. Let me read out a comment which has came from a Winter Mute, and it says, phishing is a very real problem, especially big corporate employees are often ill-informed about their operational risk. On this, a small comment that even if corporate employees are informed, it's taken in a very casual way, as something. If there is a training associated with phishing, the purpose usually is to complete it rather than getting to know in-depth understanding of what it is about. So yes, I believe the approach has to change both from the corporate management and the corporate resources. How do we see this as a real threat? All right, so we also have another question. Let me take audience question a couple of bit right now. So one is from Vinod, who says, is it relatively safer to store passwords on Google accounts? So let me ask this with our guest first, and then I will have my comments on this. So Sitesh, what's your thought?
Well, Vimal, I think storing passwords, and nowadays, before we go to that question, keep me logged in. That is the first question most of these email systems are asking. Keep me logged in. Now browser is also saying keep me logged in. So I somehow don't understand. Keep me logged in. Is it trying to gauge the user behavior, or is it to give the convenience? It started with the narrative of convenience, but now I think it is more about gauging the user behavior. Why would I keep my email logged in, or even my browser logged in for that matter? Though more and more cloud systems, through them, it is being asked. And Google accounts or passwords being stored, the problem I think is that you can open multiple Google Gmails on the same browser, and then you can mix and match while you are working in a very, very heated session of the day where your office and your personal everything is on the same browser today. And then since the boundaries of office have been broken, I think the CIOs on the cybersecurity side have a greater headache on their hands, great challenges on their hands. So no, I don't think that's a good idea.
Totally agree.
That's interesting. Melker, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. I do not believe you should be keeping yourself. Number one, I don't think you should be keeping yourself logged in. because it is do Google and every entity out there that can collect data, information and data collection is the wave of the future for them to market anything they want to you. Understanding your behavior, understanding where you are today, where you are at 11 o'clock tomorrow. They want to know everything. And by doing that, they can use that not only for data analytics towards consumerism, in other words, how to market products to you, but also it's not the good guys that you have to worry about. It's the bad guys who are using the exact same data, right? The intent was always good for why you started to do something. But remember that, as he said, a system is only as good as its weakest link. Well, for every person out there who can create and devise a new system that's going to, prevent data loss or your identity being stolen or multi-factor authentication, there's somebody else better who's going to figure out a way to get around it and get in there. So ask yourself the question, how important is that data that you are storing in that Google account? Is there something important? Are you using your Google account to log you into your banking? Absolutely not. They should never be doing that. As far as I'm concerned, ask yourself, what's the sensitivity of the data that's being logged into and being left logged into? If it's sensitive, don't at all allow that. By default, I'd say log in every time, keep yourself always logged out, and only log in when you need to. Based on that, you will keep yourself safer than the other person. Remember, they're going to take the hackers are going to go for the easiest path. So they're going to go after the person who they say, oh, I found one password. Let me try all their other accounts. And if you're using Google to log into every other account other than the Google account itself, now somebody who finds that one has access to your whole life. So again, multiple passwords, something for everyone. Don't keep yourself logged in. I'd say my answer on that one is absolutely not. Always log out and keep them separate. Change your passwords regularly and understand what is the sensitivity of the data. If you know that the sensitivity of the data is something very important, don't even let Google remember it. On the other hand, if this is something maybe this is just your TikTok account and there's nothing in your TikTok account or anything else, and you don't care, and there's definitely nothing anybody's going to do with it, then it's irrelevant. They're going to go after stuff that's important that they can use. So that, again, sensitivity of data should rule everything.
Absolutely, and I guess it's a kind of trade-off between the idea of convenience and idea of being secure. Which path you would like to go forward to? There are a couple of things, right, which certainly you take away from our speakers. One, we can have multiple accounts. And if you know that you're talking about a specifically storing password on Google account, question is, are we also planning to make those accounts more secure, like having a strong password, changing it regularly? Because one time, if it is compromised, that means you're actually compromising on all your logical assets or your social medias which you are using, Google account for logging in. So everything gets compromised at the same time, which you don't want to happen. So probably you can segregate between multiple IDs, which one is more confidential to you, which one is really important. However, the example of TikTok, like even you won't want that somebody post a TikTok video, which could attract unwanted, comments on something that you did not want it to pay, and something that you did not want it to post over there. And if somebody is hacking your account, somebody is posting on your behalf, and it's actually creating problem for you because it stays for a while when it goes on internet. I wanted to say it forever, but at least it stays for a while. That's for sure. So yeah, it's definitely our call. Convenience over security. Certainly, few things we can agree on to have multiple accounts, and if you really want to secure your data information in the best possible way, the best thing is to log off and log in when you need it. possibly you really don't need to keep logged in all the time. And if at all, if you need, you have to make sure that you are secure by all means. All right. I have a next question, but before we go to that, let's go to a little bit of context setting around that question. That is around cloud security, or if we can call it cloud cybersecurity or cyber cloud security. How do we want to call it? What does it mean? Because eventually, when all our applications, all our systems are getting on the cloud, it becomes more important for us to understand. Now, it's not about securing our physical device, which might not be connected to internet and is just in our possession. The ability to access your data and information anywhere over internet also comes with the liability of losing data over internet. So Sitesh, how do you see cloud security, and what kind of challenge it's going to bring in coming future?
Well, Vimal, the moment this cloud as a technology came into our lives a couple of years back, I remembered all the weather channels who have been telling from decades there is going to be cloud burst, and that is one of the greatest challenge on the rain side. It causes floods, it causes. So when the technology named itself as a cloud movement, that itself is like giving away your important precious data outside your organization. People try it with the on premises and then external, and then there are multiple versions, and then hybrid model, and all of that. uh, my take is as simple as this: do a pilot, do a feasibility study. Don't just look at the cost, look at the larger cost that you'll have to pay as an organization, and one will, as a consumer, will have to lose, is there to lose. And therefore, beyond cost, there is something which is, should be no compromise on the data of the user or the consumer if it is a retail kind of a organization. And I think the moment it is important, over the years we have seen that, one way or other, cloud has become the go-to place for every CIO, every CEO. And what is happening, and despite a great amount of cloud adoption, some of the questions the CEOs or the CIOs are not asking. And I would like to just point out that the questions that the CEO or a CIO should ask: do we keep a live inventory of the assets? Are my employees properly educated about cybersecurity threats? Does our cybersecurity strategy address business risk or not? So what we have been talking since beginning is about the individual user and the cyber security. But I also squarely put it onto the corporates as well, where when they are launching a product or a system, many times these important questions are not being asked. How would you attempt to attack us or infect our systems with ransomware, steal our data, or otherwise cause us potentially severe losses? How many times CIOs and the CEOs ask these questions to their teams? What are the top 3 technology related issues that could put us out of the business today? Very few CIOs, because people inside the organizations are busy with the budgets that are given to them, adoption timelines which is given to them, and the running applications plus the new applications that are going to come. So many times these questions are not asked in a very straightforward. For example, how do you measure and manage the cyber security program? What types of risks currently threatening our network and systems? Who does take a holistic view of that? And what is the visibility of attack life cycle for us, for any organization for that matter? and what are the preventive measures that the IT team, the CIOs have implemented. So first, it is the organization which has to come clean on cyber security before it goes out in the hands of the consumer. And that is my take on it. The water has to flow from the top.
Yes, Sitesh, and probably they have the ability to do it in the best way so that it flows down appropriately to down channels. Melchior, your thoughts about this? Cloud security, now while the cloud is blooming, what additional security threat does it bring, and what approach one should take?
I've been fortunate that I've been working with very, very large organizations, which has basically essentially been the banks. And the banks have taken actually a much slower adoption rate to the cloud. Uh, Smaller companies, startups, mid-sized companies, they've been much faster to react, but the banks themselves have taken a much slower approach to adopting into cloud security into the cloud for the simple reason of security. The banks that, in fact, all the banks that I've worked for have training programs, testing programs, complete, departments that are just focusing on security, everything from physical to digital. And that's why they've been so slow to adopt cloud. Now that they are starting to adopt cloud, they're also ensuring that the policies, from the operational point of view, are matching those policies. For example, employees of banks do not have data on their laptops. Everybody who's working remote is actually using virtual desktops, where the data is not actually sitting on the laptop itself. It's sitting on a virtual server that is your laptops are really becoming a dumb terminal, for lack of a better way of calling it. That information is being stored for the security of the clients, right? Your access controls have a large part in major corporations to ensure that the individuals have only the proper access to the proper systems for the proper amount of time. Additionally, all the laptops have DLP implemented, which DLP stands for data loss prevention, so that you can't just take a USB and plug it into your corporate laptop. It doesn't work. Those are disabled. All the laptops have security and are constantly updated in large organizations such as the banks. They've gone through extensive lengths to ensure the privacy for the customer first, and secondly, for the employee, to make sure that the employee is kept up to date with regular testing, regular training, spot checking, the random emails that they send out to actually catch and remind you that this is a phishing exercise, that you should or should not have clicked on this email. These programs are constant, active, and repetitive. And they're actually being updated constantly, so to keep this at bay. The banks, I know, are doing their best, and very admirably, to be honest with you, at education to the employees, education to the customers, the clients. They tell you, don't do this. Question is, are you listening? Right? And that's why they'll do these testing exercises and reminders. And if you fail those things, they'll put you through another training program. And they're putting those hardware and software monitoring and prevention items in place. Another thing that's happened is, for example, because of data and where they reside, everybody with the remote, and this is very useful to note, remote doesn't mean that you can just take your laptop and go anywhere in the world and work. Corporations have policies. So if you've got family in India, for example, and you're going to visit them, well, just because you are allowed to work remote does not mean you can leave Canada with your laptop, with your corporate laptop, and work from India. That's a no-no. They'll see an IP change, and they'll also flag it as that, and they'll shut you down immediately. These policies are in place because of data prevention. The last thing you want is Canadian data sitting in another country, or access to that Canadian data from another country. The banks, I know, have all got these policies in place, and will, the minute they even remotely detect the wrong IP or coming through a different location, boom, automatically your access has just been cut off. And then individuals will call in and say, hey, my access is gone. And they'll say, where are you right now? Why did you take the laptop out? Your laptop has been disabled. Your access has been turned off. These are, number one, to maintain the reputation, protect the client, protect the data, and protect the bank and the shareholders as a whole. So yeah, this is very important to note. Remote does not mean you have the choice of being anywhere in the world. Remote means you are working from home at one of a certain amount of approved locations. It does not mean you can just pick your laptop and be portable and go anywhere you want. That's some policies of all the banks that are going on right now.
Absolutely. And yeah, and we'll come back to that as well, that even when you are in the commute distance to your office working remotely, what kind of precautions we must be taking. But before we do so, I have a question from Saurabh Kishore, which is pretty much related to our cloud security aspects, where he asked, what are your thoughts on implementing single sign-on for everyone and not just for business and companies? Again, it seems like a question of convenience, because a single sign-on does provide us convenience to log into multiple devices. I believe Chrome is already providing that ability wherever you log in. If you are already logged in Chrome, it kind of knows what you want to look at, and it will allow you to do so seamlessly. Same applies with all Apple devices. Apple, considering one of the most secure, one of the company known for most of the security, but they do also have, like, all the Apple devices can be collaborated together, where you have access to your information. So single sign-on, Sitesh, what do you think about it? As an individuals, the idea of single sign-on, do you think it is convenience or inviting threat to our own security?
Well, the answer to Saurabh Kishore comes from my experience. See, single sign-on is all about the preparedness of the systems that are going to be impacted with those kind of sign-ons. In a corporate setup, where an employee goes to office and he or she has to log in to one and all the other systems in the office at the same time, maybe 15 or 20 or 35 of those applications, that single sign-on may work. But the moment you try to use the same single sign-on for the retail user or the user which is outside your organization as your customer, you really don't know. And you will never be able to know the kind of systems the person, the user is going to access or is already connected with. The way the systems are merging together today, you don't even realize that Alexa has been on in your house for last 3 days. And then we talk about, if we do that single sign on for our personal space, it is actually very, very challenging, and it should not be left on to some IT company or services provider company who say, we will make your home very smart. There's a concept of smart homes all over. But is that a smartness for the purpose of showcasing the status of the wealth that we have, or we really want to use it? We know how to use it and the vulnerabilities. So I would say, Saurabh, that single sign-on is good for the businesses, especially in the large office kind of a setup. But when it comes to the personal outside user, or especially for the consumer, me and you, we connect our browsers to so many things. And today, a funny side of it is that, my son who uses a tablet uses my sign-on, so he can also easily see what I am seeing, and I can also see. But so single sign-on for right now is not yet mature to handle the individual, customers for the larger organizations. That's my take right now. Maybe it could change. Plus, at the same time, our personal laptops are also more or more data is being stored in the cloud. Earlier, it was on the hard disk. So, Vimal and Melchior, it will be interesting to know, will we need 1 terabyte of hard disk anymore if everything is there on the cloud?
All right, that's an interesting question. How do we want to balance our data and spread it across our personal device or on cloud? I believe it's a completely case-to-case situation where like we need to determine what information we are capable of or are willing to handle that data by ourselves. Like something where I don't want to trust cloud, probably I will trust myself. And for those data where I feel I'm not the best capable person to have this, I will probably opt the cloud options. On this note, I will let me take up this question, which is very interesting, and I believe would be interesting to our audience as well. Sarki asked that we all are talking about updating passwords, regularly, and like all of us, not only Sargi, like we have like hundreds and hundreds of websites which ask us to log in, create account. Are we going to remember everything? I know, Medica, you have an algorithm to manage all your password. That is something I'm thinking of doing a specific session. How do we create a algorithm for ourselves because our data secure? But to a specific the specific answer to this question, which I like to share, is that certainly I will not have one single account which I will be using, for everything. There has to be a difference between something that's generic in nature, generic information about me, and something confidential. The email, the Gmail ID that I use for all the most important purpose, that has to be very confidential. I must not use it for all the 500 websites, but probably I can have an additional account, possibly which I can use it separately for those random websites, so that even if I lose access to it, I'm losing access to those websites, which really doesn't matter as much as my personal account would do. So that is what I will do with my current understanding knowledge. But I understand that I need to evolve even in my best practices, where somebody like Melker, who has his idea of having an algorithm, he can put some more insights. What do you have to say, Melker?
Well, the first thing is he's mentioned he's using a password manager, which is a good idea for most people, right? But again, I go back to what is the sensitivity of the data, and that's the key. If something is very publicly available and there's nothing in there that you really care about, it may be fine. No, but if it's something like your banking and everything else, you want to keep that separate, secure, and yes, you do want to change that regularly, because it's going to matter if somebody else gets a hold of your account and empties your account. They do a few e-transfers to some fake emails, and then it's gone into Bitcoin or something along that line. You've got nothing. You can't trace it. You're dead. It's gone. But on the other hand, if you want to use your password manager for all these websites that don't have that impact on your life and on the data related to your life, then by all means. The other fact is, the way these password managers work is that you're logging in as one password, and it's managing and potentially changing your passwords for you. You want to change the first password to get in regularly, because you're really only managing one password by using a password manager. That first password to get into the password manager is the one that you want to make sure you're changing regularly, right? It's kind of, what's the level of where it is. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go in and change each one. The other aspect of the password manager is a lot of these password managers create those passwords for you, create and it's a non-word. It's not a one word like the word password or a phrase. It's 1572 whatever. It's a long string that is on its own hard to manage. So if the password manager is doing that, at very least, the main password to get into the password manager is what I would say is the one you want to change first. What do you think, Satish?
Yes, I think this is password manager. Well, I have still not used the password manager, and wherever this idea has come to me, I manage almost like 125 different kinds of passwords and the PIN numbers and OTP numbers, and pretty much by now, most of them are intuitively there in the subconscious, and thankfully need not use a software or even a piece of paper. But at the same time, I would suggest that maintain some kind of a crypto understanding amongst yourself, your own, and your probably family members, close family members, where if the passwords are not remembered, then somebody can utilize those crypto connotations. For example, nowadays the mobile phone comes with the pattern unlocking. What happens to the person if he gets into an accident and can't operate the phone? The pattern unlocking at that moment becomes very, very crucial. Somebody needs to just open the mobile phone and just call up the nearest hospital or the number of the relative. Now the pattern, if somebody doesn't know, people will just keep on trying something or other, and it will not happen. So there has to be a way, like the old locksmith had got a lot of tricks to open it at some kind of a emergency. So password manager or the diary or the crypto in your head, I think all of that, people have to be really conscious, because when we say things are free, we are the currency, we are the data.
Absolutely, Siddesh. Nothing is for free. We are actually trading off ourselves, our own data, for getting information, and we have to be very cautious about it. And even if we have to trade off, we have to trade off well. It has to be a good deal. That's how I would put across. We are getting closer to our dot time, but we are pouring in questions. After this session, we were supposed to have like 10-15 minutes of break time. Probably I can extend it for another 5-7 minutes just to catch up some of the questions, because I can see the audience is very engaging. Rather, I was not able to ask all the questions which I had to ask you guys. So it's very nice to see our engaging audience who is putting across all these beautiful questions. So let me directly go back to some of the question which I feel is certainly a question of me as well. Like I personally want to understand this as well. While I may have a certain view on this, laptops have got VPN, a specific mechanism in which you log in and you secure your data. But the mobile devices might not have the conventional VPN structure. It may be your organizational mobile device with certain limitation in it, but probably it's not as secure as your laptop devices. And as long as you can access your emails, your chat, and probably much more. Doesn't it give a gateway to the same threat that we are safeguarding on laptop? So I will start with you, Siddesh. Like, how do you see this?
So one of the recent in 2021, one of the biggest cyber attacks has happened in United States, and that is about that pipeline, which basically the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack, which actually stopped 5,500, on the way, the pipeline systems, and the 5,500 miles of pipeline, or 45% of the East Coast fuels were impacted, and the computer networks were breached. It was in May 2021. And the reason that has been found that one of the VPN connections which was inactive because the user was not there, but it was not deactivated by the systems. It was inactive because the user was not there, but it was not deactivated, and it caused a major problems in US this May. And mobile phones, coming to mobile phones, the kind of security systems that, again, the securities were designed again for the laptops, for the desktops, and today the mobile is nothing but just a cut short version of that. Where is the mobile specific security software? Where is the mobile specific access systems today? If you remember, in Canada, you have heard about the BlackBerry, which was more like a, the wall of security that was almost impossible to break in. But in today's consumer smartphones, the consumer mobile technology, it is almost not feasible cost wise and the infrastructure wise to have the same BlackBerry kind of a software wall or a security wall, even if it is VPN. So maybe, Melchior, you're smiling, so share your experience.
Yeah. Well, first of all, BlackBerry.
Wow.
My mobile phone is a BlackBerry. The second thing is I do have virus software on my BlackBerry that everybody can. There are free ones as well as paid ones. You can download virus software. There are also VPNs that you can get. I believe Mozilla has a VPN, and there's a few others. So I think Nord also has a mobile VPN. So you can start with making sure you've got the right software on your mobile devices, right? And yes, the other issue about the issue that happened with the US, that's an identity and access management issue. At least I one thing I do, having worked in identity access management and continue to do so, is that the major corporations, the banks, etc., have policies and procedures in place that the minute something is inactive for a period of time, it shuts it down. The second thing that happens is if a person is left the corporation, that also needs to be shut down on time. Access to any system should be during the time you need it, for the access you need it, and only given to you to the permissions and the roles that you should be using it for. You should never get more access than is required, and not for a period of time greater than what you have been authorized to do. So corporations out there, majority of the big ones, have these things in place that within your termination, for whatever reason, whether you leave, you quit, you get fired, whatever, your access is immediately turned off that day, that hour. Not waiting for, we'll do it on Monday or next week. That's a no-no. Things are done immediate, and if it's normal access and they're supposed to have access, then all ways of getting access need to be controlled by security, by passwords, by authentication, and anything else that's dormant in usage needs to be deactivated or locked until a further time where it can be unlocked through authentication. So that issue that happened, I'm pretty sure that they probably have employed a lot of identity access management companies to do an overhaul and review all protocols on that to ensure that situation does not happen again. Because again, the hackers are looking for vulnerabilities. The minute they find a vulnerability, they're going to exploit it. On your mobile phones, download some of the, either get one of the paid ones or get one of the top free ones. Make sure you've got a virus protection on your mobile phone. They're available. You can get a VPN for your mobile phone. Don't be using public Wi-Fi's for anything of anything importance. The number of people who go to an airport, a bus station, a train station, and then are using the Wi-Fi and are doing public banking on those Wi-Fi's, oh my God, I just can't tell you. Just don't do it. On top of that, when you're at an airport, this is a new one. You know, a lot of people plug in their phones into those USB ports. Be forewarned. Some of those USB ports have been retrofitted by a hacker to catch data and gather your data. So they think they're plugging in and charging their phone, but what they're actually also happening is not only is the phone charging, but it's downloading data because you've given them a direct access to it. So, there are these, my recommendation is take your own charger, plug it into the outlet, plug it into a power outlet, and then plug it into your phone and charge. So when you're traveling, do that because you don't know what country you're in and you don't know what laws of that country are acceptable or not acceptable. Canada, United States have laws against it, but again, you don't know when a hacker's gone to the airport and just pretended to be, a technician and retrofitted all those things. You'll never know it. So use your own charger, plug it into a regular wall outlet, and let your USB port connect to your phone with that charger. Either that or you can get these special data prevention blockers. So what it does is you plug it into the USB port, it's an extra piece, and it only allows electrical current to go through without allowing data to go through. You can get those for like $5. It's worth the investment.
Absolutely, and that's interesting. Like seriously, there are some key takeaways from what you said, Medica. Like, do not plug in your USB, for charging. Rather, use your own device. Use the electricity plug, not the USB port. Probably it can scam you. We will have to wrap up, and I will take the last question now, and after that we'll wrap up. And the kind of pouring question we got, certainly we have to do this session again. And I'm also planning to have a workshop with Melka to show us how do you do this algorithm thing to manage your password. I guess that would be interesting to many of our audience. But certainly we will have to have some dedicated session on that, followed with this kind of discussion where we have more engaging audience and we talk more and more about it and be more and more aware. Let's wrap up with this question that has came from Roberta, and she is a student, and she wants to know what should students practice in this. To begin with, I will say cybersecurity measures is also a matter of individual practices, individual habits. So as a student, if you feel that right now you may not have that many sensitive information, but the habit that we develop at this point of time will lead us when we go to the corporates, and we may have the same habit. So if we are having some good habits in terms of the practices that we follow to safeguard our data now, it will actually help us when we go to the industry, and we will keep following those good practices. Sitesh, your view on this. What's your thoughts and suggestions to students?
Well, I would think that Roberta is a student and she's preparing herself for a corporate career. My take here is that with the student community, they have to understand the safe cyber practices. At the same time, they are in the age bracket where they are using some of the software, some of the systems, which even the most experienced CIOs and the cybersecurity administrators, and including parents, are scratching their head. One of it is Discord, and I believe you know about it. It's very hard to understand what is happening in that system, in the Discord. It's very, very popular in India with the students of the school students. Very, very hard. Though there is a WhatsApp, there is another messaging systems which are anybody can look into. But this Discord, and then there are a couple of others as well. So I would say to Roberta and everyone, it is your vulnerability, it is your solution, it is your challenge, and it is your loss. It may not always be the loss for money. It may be a loss of credibility because someone is waiting for some information coming from your side. And therefore, it is very, very important. As much as it is important for a corporate, it is important for an individual user in whichever category. Whichever category. Students level, they are smart, they can understand, they can actually fall back, they can find workaround. What about an old person walking on the road or going to a bank? What kind of solutions, how can they help themselves? So it is important that cyber practices is not only for corporates. I think it cyber practices should now, it after the kind of digitization we are seeing now, they should become, cyber practices should become our billboards on railway stations, on airports, on our roads, and while we enter the malls, because every place is now Wi-Fi. And asking for a Wi-Fi is like asking for a glass of water. So yes, there cannot be a universal cyber practices. I would suggest, because of the country, because of the regulation, because of the hardware, because of so many other things. But I think that the moment something is in a hand, which is a digital device, now cars are coming with infotainment dashboards. You don't know that we are transferring everything what is happening inside the car. And therefore, the cyber practices are the same practices. They have to become our hygiene practices like every day. We should look good, not only from outside, we should look bright, clean, elegant, and safe from inside as well.
Thanks, Hitesh. Brief response, Melka, before we wrap up, and thanks a lot for those insights, Hitesh.
No problem. I think basically consider what data you've got to put out there and what you're sharing with others. And if you ask yourself, how can this possibly harm me? If you give out that data freely, you exchange data, you're signing up for things all over the place, how is that going to affect you? Not just today in your life where it may not mean much, but how much is it going to affect you in the future? For example, corporations, CIOs, hiring managers, they're looking at you now, not just because of your credit score, your marks, what you've done in the past, what you're capable of doing. They're also looking at your behavior. What did you post on Facebook? Because I'll tell you the greatest risk to a corporation. It's not the loss of money. It's not the loss of revenue. It's the loss of reputation. Reputational risk is the highest risk because everything else actually relates to it. When they lose money, they lose faith from the clients. Clients won't invest in them. So what is going to end up happening is their reputation is tarnished. So they will look at you as to how you are going to affect their reputation. If you've got a lot of things posted on Facebook that is not the type of person they're going to want to hire, you're not going to get the job, even if you're the smartest person out there. Look at that. You are a piece of data, and how is the data on you in every aspect, whether it's financial, whether it's marks, whether it's how you deal with other people. How is that going to reflect on the company? Because what that is now very, very important, and as it reflects on the companies that hire you. So make sure you're looking at all of that. Enroll in only the things that you really need to, and share only the data you need to. Be very careful. Data is the highest commodity now. So that's my advice.
Data is the highest commodity and we must secure it. It's responsibility of all of us on individual level, on corporate level. This discussion has to continue. This definitely has to continue. And I definitely promise to our audience that I'll bring up a session which will have a workshop. Probably we will scam a hacker live. Probably we will have we will take more questions. But right now we'll need to take a break before we go to the next session. I will ask all our audience to stay tuned because at some point of time you will be given a form which will be a form of participation, and based on that we will be sharing you the certificate of participation as well as swags who have registered on different channels for us. So let's take a water break, bio break, whatever you call it. In 5 or 7 minutes you can come back at 1:20 EST. So thank you so much, Sitesh, Nalikar. Thanks for your time and your insights. It was a lovely audience putting all those questions. Thank you so much. Have a nice break, and let's get back again in few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community.
Thinking about the people in the process, that technology cannot take more apart from that. So I think that is the vision that we need to understand.
Nationalities and cultures and people here, and to me it's a safe place, especially when we're thinking about technology.
This organization and this event provide me the opportunity to experience using Google Cloud.
I want to connect with a lot of people. I'm a people person. We have people coming from doctors' background, medical professional, lawyers.
The ability to actually participate in a live session is much more powerful than a virtual classroom.
But here you've got a lot of volunteers, you've got great instructors, and it really helps because when you do get stuck, you can ask someone.
It's made less scary when I was surrounded by others and we could ask for help.
It's an opportunity to connect with other people who also have the same affinity for this new cloud technology.
we've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community.
Hello, everyone. So welcome back. Hope everybody had got some time to take a small break. And the next session is going to be very interesting, and probably many of you would be quite excited to listen to our guests and panelists in this segment. So pretty much we will be talking about WTM, that is Women in Tech, and why women in tech. Like we have kind of observed that the contribution, or let me not call it a contribution, the participation of women in technology workforce is less than 30%. To be more close to reality, it's somewhere around 23 to 25%. Now, this is strange. This is not in line with our education. This is not in line with our stats that comes from academics, because in education we have more folks who are in school, in colleges, they're at par with other genders. But when it comes to technology workforce, we really see their participation is less. Now, question is it organic? Is it something because women community at large are not much interested in technology, or is it because of some other reason? This is a question which is an ongoing ongoing dialogue, and we try to keep this dialogue alive, that if it is organic, this is perfectly all right. Everybody has choice, or can make the choices what kind of career they want to be in. But if it is something which is related to a showstopper, probably as a society, as a corporate industry, we must address this. And till the time we address it, at least we should have this dialogue on. So let me introduce to you Shweta Shukla, who is our GDG co-organizer and also WTM ambassador. So she's a technology professional and has been an advocate of women's and other genders, and their participation in technology. So she would be hosting this session. Thanks, Shweta, for joining. And we have other guests as well, who would be joining the session. We have Vijay. Vijay works in digital media marketing field, and the reason why we have Vijay on the panel is he's an advocate of women involvement in different world, and he has keen sight because he works in the marketing field, in the digital strategy field. So he definitely has a view on how the trends look like, how the data looks like. So he can definitely add some insights from that perspective. He has worked for many major organizations, TikTok and Google and Facebook, and works on multiple clients. So his insights from the data point of view is going to be very relevant to our scale. And we have a very special guest today joining from South Africa, who is Edwina. I had the opportunity to work with her many years back, and she was humble enough to join us in this session. She is a corporate professional. She's VP in finance in IT, ABSA Bank. ABSA is the largest banking group in South Africa. I'm very honored to have her here, and I believe our audience and panelists will get really good insights talking on the idea of women in technology. So I will leave up to Shweta to take it forward, and let's have a discussion which we all are very curiously waiting for. Thank you, Edwina. Thanks for joining. So,
Thank you, Vima.
Welcome, Edwina and Vijay.
Thank you.
So, Edwina, we'll like to know more about you, as Vimal already introduced you, but we want to know from your your
experience. Yeah. Okay, yes, like Vimal said, we worked together for a long time. I know he thinks I'm crazy most of the time because I'm very hard when it comes to work. So I've been in the banking sector for quite a long time. Started off custody, treasury, implementing trading systems across Africa. Yeah, so also done currency rebasing in Zambia with Kwacha. And yeah, so I think I have a huge footprint in the tech sector, if I can say that. Also, I think from the point of view of a woman, it's very difficult to carve yourself out in the industry. It's a hard road. It's very patriarchal, and you kind of have to have a big personality to fit into the space.
Okay. So, if I may ask, like, how you find your journey when you started your career, or like very first time when you step into the technology industry, and now you are here. So, how you find this journey?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for women, although they don't really get it as much. And I think it's basically from a girl child's point of view, where women are not given the opportunity, where they are not introduced to it. And there's a lack of role models in the industry to actually help women perform in the industry. So I will say it's a very tough road. You have to have a lot of grit to push it forward, to make your mark, to make your voice heard, and to show that you're capable.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Yeah.
Vijay, what's your say about it? Is it a roller coaster ride, or is it a smooth road?
Definitely not a smooth road, to be very true. The one of the biggest issues that women face, especially it can be technology, and it can be marketing and data as well, is in terms of the bias of the credibility. There's a lot of bias in men in general and people in general for the credibility that women have with the kind of work that they are doing. Is it really should we trust their data? Should we trust the output that they are giving? That is one of the core concerns, and it is at a very it's at a very deep level. It's not like on the surface. It's at a it's a deep rooted issue which is about credibility with women in technology and how they are contributing in terms of their work, which has to go. There needs to be a huge thought shift that has to happen, wherein we start believing that the kind of output a man versus a woman can give in technology or in data is going to be absolutely either accurate or not accurate, and there is no bias that a woman can go ahead and give you a highly inaccurate data versus a man going ahead and giving you more accurate data than a woman. That doesn't work, and that is a thought shift that has to happen. And that is one of the core problems that kind of demotivates women to be able to continue their roles in tech. There was a study, there was some data that I was looking at. It says that there are 27% of women who leave their tech careers in the first year of in working in tech itself. Like, it's hardly been any time that you've actually gone ahead and experienced how tech works and what could be the amount of contributions you could have made. And people take this decision due to the bias that they have been facing in the work culture, and the kind of bias that their superiors might have been laying on them. Another huge point is that we do not have a lot of like women do not have a lot of sponsors, people who would back them up, people who would speak ahead for them, people who would want to go ahead and showcase their success or the kind of hard work that women put in. That is missing. They do not have superiors who advocate for the kind of contribution that women are making on a day-to-day basis. And that is again something that is pushing more and more women to go away from tech or choose roles which are not that challenging, to be able to understand that since they are not getting the kind of appreciation they deserve, why to put the kind of hard work that they should. which they are already and being underappreciated for. So yeah, it's nowhere even in the closest vicinity a roller coaster, sorry, a smooth road. It's an absolute roller coaster with a lot of bumps, I feel. Yeah, that's from my side.
Yeah, I can totally feel it because when I started my career till here, I feel like that. So, Edwina, my question to you is like Vijay said, 27% of women's they leave their career in like first year or early stages of their career. But my question is, uh, ahead of that, like when they started their career, so if we see the like students they are in their colleges or university, so if we see the ratio there, the ratio is a bit like compared to the industry a bit high, means girls versus boys or female versus male, they are still studying, but we don't see that much students are going into the workforce. Or if I say if a company is hiring 50 students, so all of in those 50 students there are only maybe like 5 or 4 or like less than 10 females and rest all males. So why is that so? I mean, is there any specific reason for that, or like
Okay, I think a lot of it depends on confidence. Women are not really that confident, okay? And I think most of the time, even in the tech industry, if you walk into an interview, the likelihood of a woman interviewing you is so minimal. Um, and there isn't that sense of comfort that you're overwhelmed, they throw all this jargon at you, and you get a bit, I can say, shell shocked. So I think a lot of women, when it comes to that, they feel very overpowered by men. Let's not take away that women do have different personalities than men. I think a lot of us think much more, and men are more boisterous and would put themselves out there, whereas women tend to be quite reserved and would like to first see the landscape and how it pans out. Yeah, and basically that confidence that they don't have, and the strong female role models that is in an organization to actually carve out a footprint for themselves. So in that regard, I would say that that's a huge role. Men, I think, have a more rapport with each other, whereas it's usually the boys' club, like I refer to it, and I go in there and I'm like, this little boys' club is gone. I've arrived, and that's kind of the role you have to take up to walk in there and make it known that you are in the room, and don't speak over me, speak at me. You might learn a thing or two. And women are not given that platform, and most of the time they just go into the background, into the shadows, they get thrown into testing positions, and they're not given the opportunity to actually go in there and take on big roles and carve out a career for themselves in tech. And in the end, it becomes overwhelming, and they just leave it because they feel like it's an uphill battle, and they can be useful somewhere else.
or I may say there is a saying, not saying, but in general people say that in IT specifically, you need to work uh, a bit more, I mean the working hours. So
As
is
a
that
woman, you
a
work.
reason?
Yeah, as a woman, I can testify. I work much harder than all of the guys put together. you constantly have to prove yourself. And I mean, I've been in the industry so long, and it's still the case. We still have to go out there and prove yourself and come up with solutions. And it's tough. It's not easy. That much I can tell you. I know I work very long hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you say, Vijay?
I think it's not just that, it's also by the virtue of how women are. They typically want to go ahead and they take a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, in terms of trying to go ahead and do a lot more to be able to go ahead and showcase the kind of worth that they are, which is not required. I mean, typically, I see there definitely needs to be a paradigm shift where males start recognizing the kind of contribution that women are doing on a day-to-day basis. And it's not that it is purely just expected out of them. It is actually over and above the fact that they are doing. We cannot go ahead and draw lines in terms of certain benchmarks. Oh, this is something that has to be achieved by the women. And those benchmarks are set so high that a lot of high performing women think that what they're doing is normalcy, which is not right. They're actually high performers. That is one thing that I recognize. I'm going to take two things from Edwina's conversation. One, lack of confidence, yes. And two, the patriarchal part of it, which is again very true. Um, and I think the problem over here is at a much deeper core is towards the time of your education. There are not a lot of programs that really go ahead and motivate women to take more tech roles up, or take more challenging roles up in their career, or help them to become more confident or boisterous, as compared to any other male would. Whereas the amount of talent or the amount of qualities that exists are equal among a male or a female. But what is the difference? Why is there a lack of confidence when women want to represent themselves in such roles in technology, or roles in data, or roles across leadership? And that is caused at a much deeper root. It's a deeper root cause is not having healthy programs at a school level that will motivate women to be able to go ahead and get excited about technology, understand how technology works, and what an interesting field it can be. It should not be things it should not be a part of just the boys club. To be very true, it is something that women should enjoy equivalently. And there should be programs that should encourage them to do it at a very young age. That's gonna be the time where women start going ahead and expressing them more confidently, because they've spent so much of significant amount of time throughout their schooling and their college in technical abled roles, and engineering and technology in general, and the sciences, that this gender parity will start lowering down over a period of time. And that is something that has to start happening from today. uh, that is what I feel.
Yeah, that's true. Even not, I've seen not in just tech, or like few, as of my understanding, there are few more areas where this is called like boys zone, that the civil engineering, mechanical engineering. One of
Correct.
my friend, she did her PhD in mechanical engineering, and she was the only girl in that whole group. So the same way this is happening in tech also. But yeah, like the big companies, they are looking forward into it, and they are making this agenda in their annual thing, that they are encouraging more and more women to join the tech world. They are doing some programs like Google is doing, and the other companies, they are also doing. So as Aduna, as we are like facing this pandemic since last 2 years, so how you see this pandemic in terms of course this is not a good thing that is happening from 2 years, but do you see a positive impact of this pandemic, or do you see a negative impact of this pandemic for the women's participation in technology?
It's quite a difficult question to answer since I don't have small children. But I think that parents overall are subjecting their children more to technology. You know, girls get to play with, I think, stuff boys would generally play with. And I mean, on a tech platform, I think they're becoming more engaged, or at least I would hope so. You know, over the years, I think it was more a case of, you know, you're a girl, you can't play with a boy's toy. You have to do the dishes. I mean, you walk into I think there's students on here. You walk into a company and you in a tech arena, and you know you sit in these big meetings and they're all men, and then you get asked to take minutes and you're like, excuse me, I should take minutes for a meeting because I'm a woman. Like, record it, let somebody else do it. There's technology for that. And yeah, so that plays a pivotal role, I would say, where your girls are really not given the opportunity. Most of the time, girls are scared of mathematics. Even engineering, you look at, I think, Kenya quite recently, where it was a proud moment where all of the women were pilots. I think it was the first in the world. And I think companies should open the doors more for women and see them for the value they bring. I mean, women take up more than 55% of the workforce. And if you look at the technological landscape, in the next 5 years, it's going to change so much. More women are entering the workforce. More women are studying careers such as engineering, like was mentioned. Girls are saying, hey, I want to do that, you know, and they should be supported. They should be listened to and given a platform. And, you know, I think in that regard, as parents, it starts at home. You have to encourage that. You have to encourage the creative side of girl children, especially. It's the only way to go. It's the future, right? I think they said that in the next 5 years is going to be careers that has not even been thought of before. And most of the space is going to be taken up by women. And it's the future girls, you know, your 13 to 17-year-olds. In the next 5 years, that's where they're going to be. And they should be given that platform to thrive.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you think so? What Vijay said, that will start from our own house, our own home, our own family?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we would be the proper advocates, or this generation is probably the proper advocate of trying to go ahead and bring that shift, wherein we try to get a girl child more excited about technology, a girl child more excited about mathematics, a girl child more excited about science, and not just stick to Barbie dolls, because that's not necessary. It can. I'm sure if I have a daughter and if she's excited about screwdrivers and LED control panels, I'm gonna go ahead and help her with obtaining all of that and use that. I'm not gonna go ahead and say no. This is you need to go ahead and buy Barbie dolls, or you need to go ahead and buy pink houses and doll houses, etc., or something of that sort. No, that's absolutely not going to be there. And that is something that has to widely get circulated for people to then be able to replicate, and this generation becomes the advocate of having more female members being excited about engineering, sciences, technology. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I think another big influence is social media. The children today, they think, being an influencer, it's makeup, and there's so many different things that excite them, but not the real thing. So after your little social media career ends, where to from there? What do you have to fall back on? What, you can't be an old influencer. You know
Right.
what I mean? They're looking at young people. So also, if you look at that, you find your TikToks, your Instagrams, all of that, that plays such a significant role. But I think it's probably not properly moderated. And that's where, as parents, you actually have to step in and tell them to look beyond the prettiness and look at what is going on behind the scenes. What is making this world or this technology available for you? You know what I mean? So that, I think, is a way to influence on a deeper level and to get them more interested in the technicality, if you can call it that, behind the screen that they see in front of them.
Yeah. Like my daughter, she watch cartoon shows and then she say, "Mom, I want to go inside the TV and be a part of that show." I'm like, "Okay, there is no technology like this. When you grow up, make something like that."
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
So
think
this is her imagination right now.
yeah, you should get them excited to the fact that why not build something like that? Why can't we build a virtual interface where I can pull food from the chef who's probably cooking on a cook show? That kind of a technology. It's exciting. I mean, and yeah, there are possibilities. You never know.
Yeah. Maybe after 10, 15 years, we'll be eating food like this.
Yeah. And look, I think a lot of it has to do with your creativity as well. If you're a creative person, for instance, I paint, and you find different scales, and I mean, that's where you make learning fun, where you bring in um, different concepts, where you teach them how to do proportions. That's part of engineering, right? So I'm going to show you something. This here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me know if you can.
Yeah, we can.
This is a proportional divider, right?
Right.
So I paint, and when I paint the scale, I would scale it with my two little points. Now, I made this myself, okay? And and I was making this, and first I was like, nah, I need to do scale. And I was still lazy to check if there's something available. And only after I was looking at it, I did research and I found out, oh, this is something that is made already, just not widely available in South Africa. Proportional divider. So I measure my proportions and then I put it onto canvas and I would paint by that. And a simple thing such as this, right, makes a huge difference when I'm painting. And it's like I say, it's a simple thing like this where you teach math, this is how you transfer or how you bring an idea or concept to life by a little things such as these. And that should be encouraged. Creativity is brought forth in architecture, in mapping out different environments, technological environments, the cloud, everything speaks the same language. It's just that we need to teach people how does it actually work and how you can bring your ideas forth. And what you might think is a small, simple little thing could have a huge impact 3-5 years from now.
Yeah. So we have few questions coming up. Let's catch some of them. So, as Roberta is asking, as someone who very much values their female mentor in tech, what advice would you give to female students looking to network and find a mentor in their industry?
I would say make your presence known. They can't ignore you forever. So that is what is going to get you a good mentor. Find somebody that you trust, somebody that is personable, somebody who can give you proper guidance. Um, it as a woman, you're always subjected to a lot of funny things out there, but I think stick with your values, your integrity, and yeah, just show that you are here to stay and make sure that nobody makes you feel uncomfortable in a space that you shouldn't be denied a right to. So stand up for yourself and make your presence known. That's the best advice I can give you.
Thank you so much. So, let's see the other question. So, Paul is asking, what kind of platform, Edwina, and is there a framework for approaching this problem?
In what context?
Just give me one moment.
Unless I'm not understanding it properly.
Okay, let's Paul come back to this again. And meanwhile, let's take up the next question. So, Vijay,
Yeah.
this question is for you. So, as you said, we are dealing with legacy issue, and of course, there is a chance of improvement. So, what's your opinion? Like how we can improve it, not just in our house, our home, or our relative, but outside our, you know, four walls.
Yeah, I think it's a two-step process. One, females need to start being a little more confident and advocate for their own cause. They need to go ahead and speak and participate a little more in terms of trying to push themselves up through leadership positions, or trying to go ahead and make their mark in terms of letting people know their contribution that they have been making on a day-to-day basis. And the other way is for people like us to be able to spread the word. We should definitely encourage others who, like, even in my day-to-day career, like I have a team member who is a young college graduate who has joined my team in the data analytics segment. And at times the reports that she goes ahead and extracts tend to have a couple of errors here and there, which is absolutely normal, anyone would have made. Um, but my super boss has certain biases, wherein, why don't you go ahead and pull a report? Why don't you take the help of the data analyst? Why are you involving this resource in your analysis? I mean, for me, she is available at my convenience, wherein she is able to go ahead and quickly draw analysis that I need to be able to implement on campaigns. And I cannot be going ahead and waiting for the entire turnaround time of the data analyst to get back to me with the reports. So at the end of the day, the work that she's doing is absolutely great. It's just that a few things that anyone could miss is something that she missed on a couple of occasions, but that created a bias, and that is not supposed to be done. So here's what I went ahead and did, is that I made sure that I told my boss that this was a one-time mistake, and I'm definitely going to keep using the analysis that she provides, because it helps me go ahead and solve problems quickly, and not wait for the data analyst who has multiple other reports that he's probably working on, and stop my campaign optimization. and that's gone ahead and brought in a remarkable change in him. Now I also hope that he goes ahead and puts the word forward. So the second way is for us who have internally realized that there is no difference, to be able to communicate this very effectively in our circles, in our channels, not just let it be a part of our own home, but also let others understand that this is absolutely normal and has to go ahead, for other generation, for the forthcoming generations to accept it as normalcy.
Yeah, that's true. Like, this is what I'll praise my husband for this, because this is what he did for me. 3 years back, I was struggling with my career, struggling as in I took the maternity leave. I resigned from my job and I got my baby. Then I was trying to get back to the workforce, but I was not getting any calls. So that time my husband said, Shweta, why don't you try for higher studies? So go to Canada and study there. So I'm like, that mindset that we are, living from our childhood. So if I go for higher studies, who will take care of my baby? And who will cook food for you? Who will take care of the home? So he was like, okay, I'm here. I can do this. You go. He pushed me for that. Then my mom, dad specifically, even though he's doing all those things for me, my career, I studied a lot and I'll spend my whole life in the kitchen. No. So my mom, dad, they are like, Shweta, if you go there, who will take care of your baby? So my husband said, you will take care of her. So he was literally, no, you are her grandparents, you will take care of her and she will go. So that's how he made, this change in my mom, dad's mindset, my in-laws mindset. And of course, in our friends' family, everybody's like, how she's leaving her 2-year-old baby? I'm like, yeah, I am leaving. And now everybody's here and now everybody is giving example of us, like she can do it, we can also do it. And how my husband helped me, so they are even, looking forward to their husbands to, give that comfort zone for them. So yeah, this is a little story of mine, but it is inspiring lots of our
Definitely.
friends. And it is
No,
really a
I
hard
and
step to, leave your 2 years old baby behind.
but then he
Yeah.
did get that support.
Yes, my husband, he supported me like beyond
So
and above.
correct.
Yeah, get on that plane and do what you have to do. Yeah, just on something that Vijay touched upon, with I think the report in your data analyst, what I want to add there is that women a lot of the times does not take the initiative, right?
True. Very true.
And this is because they are scared. They're very scared of making mistakes, and they very, how can I say, they almost, they're scared of being chastised, or everybody's saying something if something
Yes.
is done wrong. They take that huge responsibility. Where you take a male in the exact same job and he'll mess it up completely, but then he'll be like, hey, I messed it up.
I just
And
missed it.
yeah, and women are scared to make mistakes, and they should make more mistakes, because
Absolutely.
even via making mistakes, that's how you get noticed.
Learn. Absolutely.
Mess something up now and then, just see the whole world fall apart to know that you do make a difference.
Correct. I agree. I definitely agree.
Okay, so there is a question. So there is a clarification from Paul. So he's asking, is there a framework or guidelines about how enterprise or the company should approach for this biasness issue?
I'll leave that one to Vijay. He can speak on it.
No, I think, yeah, it's as I said, it's word of mouth. I think a lot more people. It's a first of all, it's a thought shift that has to happen, and it has to come top down. A lot of leaders should start talking more about women and their contribution towards the success of the companies, and towards success in their own individual roles, because that's what that it has been happening on a day-to-day level. Every female worker is going ahead and contributing at a large scale on a day-to-day basis in the company's business as usual. But it's not being talked about as often, and it's not being recognized as often, which needs to start happening. And it needs to, again, if it doesn't come top under, at least from the people who are at certain positions where they can influence decision making, should put a word across up and talk more about the contributions that women are making, and then finally try to move this change. uh, Building more organizations that go ahead and move for this cause, GDG being one of them, should start dissipating more content and more information in people, and awareness in terms of recognizing um, women and their contribution, and how equivalently powerful that contribution is, and not, and doesn't have any difference from a male contribution, has to go ahead and be needs to be normalized and be spoken more about, is something that I feel.
Yeah, and an impact that you can make as well is at the school career days. That is where you show, where you actually, this is the space I'm in, and get girls excited about it, and that is what, yeah, that is what I used to do. I used to speak at my daughter's school. I used to say, this is the industry I'm in, and this is what I do. And sadly, I will say that it is more the boys that used to get excited, because all they say is, oh, you get to travel all over the world, you do all these exciting things. And girls are more, they scared, they don't want to take up things, they don't like stuff to unsettle them, and the world is an unsettling place, so get comfortable being uncomfortable.
True.
That's very well said, Edwina. That's really true.
Yeah.
Vimal, unmute yourself.
All right, sorry about that, Srita. So it was amazing to hear you all, and I can see the questions are pouring in, and I can also see Robert asking whether we do these events specifically or apart from the study jams. Yes, we do. Like as part of the DevFest, we definitely try to bring flavor from all spaces. But yeah, we do a specific women in tech events where we do workshops. We try to be more interactive and engaging in whatever possible way. Try to understand from different mindset from different geographies across the world, because we live in a world where at the same time we can have multiple worlds, tied together. Be it we developed nation, developing nation, very remotely developed nation. So we have to come across this question. We have to think in totality. And yes, for that we are determined to do such session precisely on the focus area that has been highlighted today. It was amazing to hear your views, Edwina and Vijay. Thanks for being part of this panel. I'm sure that I will be looking for you all again, because I can see there are a lot of questions which is still pouring in, and there will be questions coming from our audience even after the session, because this will stay on YouTube for a while. On this note, I will say thanks to our audience as well. Just to let you know that we are not ending our session right now. We have kind of a lunch break for half an hour or so, and there will be a hands-on session. There will be a lab session that will happen. Those who have registered for that can join us. You will get the notification through your registration medium, be it we Meetup, be it we Eventbrite, or even if you have any question, you can route it to us. You will get the detail also on this YouTube channel. On that note, Edwina, before we leave for the break, any final words for our audience?
What I wanted to say is for the women on here, please look out. There's a lot of STEM initiatives run by various countries. So try and get yourself into something like that. I know there's the Inspiring 50. It's run across, I think, Brazil, Canada, UK, South Africa, Netherlands. So try and engage with those people. Try and find out what it is about and link up with people. Join forums, and that is how you get your exposure. It will go a long way into carving out a career for yourself in the tech space.
All right. So that was the gist of what we discussed in a way, and pretty much I believe we have to keep this dialogue running. This is not something which we can conclude in a session of 30 minutes of 1 hour. We will have to continue talking about it, continue seeking problems people are facing, the individual problem, the problems at large that they observe. There could be a problem which I don't have, but I do observe, and I have to be vocal about it, irrespective of what gender I come from. And this session in particular doesn't only is meant for women as a gender, it's also about any gender for that matter, which gets marginalized because of certain thought process, because of certain practices that we are having. There's a lot to say and talk about it, but we will have to wind up this session now. And again, I will thank our guest. Thank you, Shraddha, for coordinating and running through. It was wonderful, and we'll love to see you guys again in a similar session. Thank you all. For our audience, you stay tuned on the chat messages on the YouTube. You will get your further information and your registration channel. Thank you all for joining. Have a great day ahead. And those who are joining on the Code Jam session, we'll meet you in 15 minutes. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community.
nationalities and cultures and people here. And to me, it's a safe place, especially when we're thinking about technology.
This organization and this event provide me the opportunity to experience using Google Cloud.
I want to connect with a lot of people. I'm a people person. We have people coming from doctors' background, medical professional, lawyers.
The ability to actually participate in a live session is much more powerful than a virtual classroom.
But here you've got a lot of volunteers, you've got great instructors, and it really helps because when you do get stuck, you can ask someone.
It's made less scary when I was surrounded by others and we could ask for help.
It's an opportunity to connect with other people who also have the same affinity for this new cloud technology.
We've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community.
This organization and this event